Alrighty, so we got a little bit of a break before we get into the next game that's going to happen in the beginning of a very busy Saturday night. As I said, there's going to be a lot of games that's going to be kicking off at the same time. There's going to be at one point, there's 9 games that's going to be happening at the same time as well. So yeah, definitely got my works cut out for in terms of trying to watch as many games as possible. But first, we're going to first talk about last night's game and then of course the matinee game that just finished a moment ago. And starting off with last night's game, which is Vancouver versus Sporting KC. And I gotta say, yeah, this was kind of predictable. I mean, it's not very often you see a game that is as predictable as it is. We usually see sometimes this league have shown its parity and have shown some surprises, but this was not one of them. This was pretty predictable of how this game goes. The only thing that was maybe a little bit unpredictable is the fact that how many goals was Vancouver going to score after 30 minutes, because they were 3-0 up after just 28 minutes into this game. I thought this was going to be 5-6 or even 7-0, similar to what Vancouver did to Minnesota early this season. But Vancouver kind of slowed down a little bit, and also a combination that it feels like Sporting KC finally showed a little bit of an effort in the second half, especially on the defensive end, because in the first half they didn't really show too much effort at all on the defensive end. Now in the first half, Sabi with the game's first shot, but missed wide despite having a free header. Even though that was the first chance of the game, usually players take their time to take their chances. Maybe it comes a little too early, but yeah, that is one that Sabi wants back. That is one that he's got to bury. The good news is he did redeem himself just a couple of minutes later as he scored from Laborda and White to give the Whitecaps a 1-0 lead. It was a very scrappy goal as well. Kind of pinball in the box, but Sabi was there to be able to score there, make amends of his bad miss that he had early, and just like that, Vancouver were up 1-0 in this one. He then looked for another, but he was denied by Postgame before Caicedo, who puts it wide from long range. It's safe to say that Sabi had a really good game in this one. He was very active in this one. It's been a bit of a slow start to the season for Sabi after what he did last season, but this game kind of shows that he's kind of back to his old self, like what we saw last year. But as expected, Vancouver has really dominated this game and was pushing to get another, and they do. As in the 23rd minute, Bruno Caicedo scored his first career MLS goal here to give the Whitecaps a 2-0 lead. It also comes off a bad turnover from Sporting KC. Yeah, they pretty much average at least one of those that ends up into the back of the net, and that's exactly what happened. 2-0 in favor of Vancouver, and I thought, yeah, hey, this could get ugly. I feel like there could be 3, 4, even 5 goals that might put past John Polskamp Namp, and it might be a crooked number by the end of the night. And that kind of continued in the 28th minute when Thomas Muller would score from Sabi and Blackman to make it 3-0 in favor of Vancouver. And I know, Muller is not a guy that is known to head ball into the back net. He's not a guy that tends to hits the shot a lot that ends up in the goal, but you still need to mark him. I mean, he was just completely left unmarked there. That's just not great defending at all for Sporting KC. And then it could have been 4-0 if it wasn't for the post denying Sabi of his second goal of the game. It did fall to White, and he had a free header there, and he somehow missed that one again. Vancouver could have easily had 4 or 5 goals in this game. They had a lot of chances in this one, especially in the first half. And then speaking of the post, it denied Berhalter from a little cross shot that is in the third minute stoppage time. I even wrote, yeah, Sporting D, as is the case for most of the season, pretty much been AWOL throughout this game, and then they head to the second half with them down 3-0 in this one. And like I said, in the second half, they at least kind of show a little bit of effort, and that defense that was AWOL kind of was found in the second half. Though it could have been 4-0 here as well, and it would have been an own goal on Joveljic as this one came off him last, but somehow Polskan was able to prevent an own goal there. It did fall to Caicedo, who puts this one wide. Vancouver kind of picked up where they left off and pressed for the fourth goal. The shots were 18-0 for Vancouver up to this point. Yeah, 18-0. It was a total domination. Now I kind of had a feeling, are we going to see a situation where Sporting Casey might not even register a single shot? This in many ways kind of gives me memories of when Sporting KC absolute belt to ass on FC Dallas in game one of that playoff series in the best of three in the first round, because it was just total domination from beginning to end. So eventually Sporting KC does get their first shot of this game. So a game where I thought the Vancouver was going to hold their opponent to no shot. That come to an end in the 65th minute. It was a good chance too. Ian James was in on goal there, but his shot was blocked off the line by Blackman. And all things considered, for Sporting KC, they definitely have defended a bit better in the second half. Now, maybe that's a lot to do with the fact that maybe Vancouver become a little bit less aggressive. You know, when you're up 3-0 and you're well in control of the game, I don't blame the fact that the Whitecaps are just kind of strolling their way to get all 3 points in this one. Mula then hits it right to Polskan before Ocampo missed one from close range as the Whitecaps once again started ramped up the pressure, looked to try to get the fourth again. Though on the other end, a free throw was in on goal there, and he did get tripped up, but no penalty was called in this play, and I think it was the right call because it feels like a free foot slip there in the vital moment, and that just kind of sums up the season so far for Sporting KC. On the other end, Postcam would deny Ilumi as he was in on goal. Sulamanov on the other end would put it high from long range, and then Jovic would hit one right to Taco. So again, the effort was definitely there for Sporting KC at least in the latter part of this game, but ultimately, yeah, they just can't overcome going down 3-0 early in this one. Like this game was over after 28 minutes. I might as well not even tune in for the rest of the game and know that I'm pretty sure Vancouver was gonna hold on to this victory, and that's exactly what they did. Easy 3-0 win for the Whitecaps. Shots on this one, 25 shots compared to 3 that Sporting KC had. 1 shot's on goal for the 6 that Vancouver has. 1 shot's off target for the 8 that Vancouver has. 5 shots on block for the 1 that Sporting KC had, and possession-wise, 50% for both of these teams. And like I said, it's not very often you see these kind of game where it's very predictable. I mean, occasionally we do see this situation where when one team is this good against a team that is obviously not having a great season whatsoever, you know the team that is doing very good is going to win, especially when they're playing at home, and that's exactly what the Vancouver Whitecaps are doing. They have started to become a bit of a wagon once again. That being said, now I am going to get the board out because we're gonna switch the board manual as always. I might even not listen to the clipper because I found out that my board is kind of a little bit messed up right now. Now, where for whatever reason it doesn't clip on the clipper relatively well. So yeah. Anyway, now we're gonna switch the board because now we're gonna talk about the matinee games, and I gotta say, if you like goals, you're definitely in for some treat. This kind of feels a little bit of a throwback of what I said a couple of years ago, where for whatever reason these matinee games. I mean, I don't know if Don Garber and the MLS script writer probably put out a script that you gotta make sure you tune into MLS soccer relatively early too, and not just tune into the busy Saturday night action because sometimes these matinee games are just absolutely wild. I mean, if you heard about MLS After Dark, is there really a thing as MLS in broad daylight as well? I mean, I know it probably doesn't hit the same vibe, but man, these games were bonkers. There was a lot of goals, and we start off with the first one, which is Toronto versus Austin FC. Imagine I say that this matchup could end up to be an absolute shootout, and defense was optional just a year ago. These were two of the most amazing defensive team, at least in the second half of the season. So yeah, to the fact that we gone from that into to whatever this was, where for whatever reason both of these attack who has had their struggle at times this season put up some good numbers like this. I mean, yeah, I definitely didn't see this coming. Though one thing I definitely saw coming is the fact that the last 10 minutes of this game was kind of chaotic. In fact, the last 12 minutes of this game was chaotic because that's how TFC game is. Really, ever since this 9 game home stretch, every single game, like literally the last stage of every single Toronto FC game, always have some drama and some huge storyline late in the game, and this was pretty much the same thing. In the first half, 2 minutes in, Sargent had a shot that was spilled by Stuvert, and Shari had a chance to pounce on it, but Stuvert kind of made amends and denies him there, and that is a rare mistake from Brad Stuvert. You usually do not see him spill the ball like this with a mishap, and he just about got away with it. But there was no doubt that Toronto was on the front foot. They were pressing for the opener. We then had a potential red card that was shown by Dubasowski. In fact, the red card was shown, but they go to VAR to see whether or not did he indeed commits a violent conduct on Edwards. VAR says no. The call was overturned, and it was a red call. I think that was very harsh to be a red card. Yes, you can clearly see Dubasowski he did kind of push Edwards, and then kind of pushed it to a point where he actually reached the neck part of the period. But I don't think that's considered violent conduct, and especially the fact that he didn't really push towards his neck to begin. He kind of pushed his shoulder and then up to the neck there. Still, obviously, it was a careless play there from Dubasowski, rightfully so. gets a yellow card for that. But for a red card, I think this was a bit harsh, and it's good the fact that they correct that, and especially with the way that if this was a red card, I mean that could probably ruin of what would go down in the latter part of this game. In the 13th minute, Sargent would puts it wide from close range before Stuver denied Etienne from close. It was all Toronto early in this one. But the question is, can they capitalize? Because even though the shots were 6-0 for TFC, it was still 0-0 up to this point, and this would be a key thing happening at least in the first half where TFC not being uh being clinical in front of goal and being wasteful come back to haunt them because Austin started to get going. The first shot for them did see Gavron denying Torres from close. Austin definitely started to get into this game after a slow start, now trying to get the opening goal, and they do. As in the 29th minute, John Bell, a rare goal from him. He doesn't usually score a lot, and I believe this is his first for Austin as well. But he scored here, and also came off of a long throw in as well. Not one of those where you see a long throw in that maybe dink toward the back post and somebody they got it. Something that we see Minnesota does a lot, and Mark Hannick usually is the one that at the back end to get to it. But it was really one of those ones where TFC just didn't clear it whatsoever. When you don't clear your lines, whether it's from a long throw in or in a set piece, yeah, you're asking to get score on, and that's exactly what happened. So yeah, Los Verdes have a 1-0 lead. They try to make it 2-0, but Gavron denied Uzuni there. But then it falls to Nelson, who puts this one over, despite he was wide open in the box there. And yeah, Gavron he got away with this one because that moment all started when he kind of flaps this one when the ball was coming into the box, missed the ball completely. When you're a goalkeeper, that is a big no-no. So as a result, he is very fortunate the fact that Austin wasn't able to punish him. Sargent then hits it right to Stuver before Showery also hits it right to Stuver in the 7 minute of stoppage time. But we do head to halftime with Austin leading 1-0. And then the second half happens. The second half is where it started to get really wacky. Toronto, of course, was on the front foot again, trying to get themselves the equalizer, and they do. In the 52nd minute, it's Showery that scored the equalizer for Toronto FC. The game was tied up at one apiece. Gallagher did look to answer, but his header was denied by Gavron. But then it rebounded here, but unfortunately, Falco Torres couldn't put this one on target. It was actually deflected wide on his rebound. Taylor would then miss wide from close in the 61st minute before Cifuentes had a shot that was deflected high from point blank. Monlouis on the other end would hit it right to Stuver in the 65th minute. This game was up for grabs. I mean, it feels like it's on a knife edge. Defense kind of at times were not really a thing. Both of these teams were pushing to try to get the lead. And in the end, it's Toronto FC, the one that gets the lead, as Richie Larea would score in the 67th minute to give TFC a free two lead, or I'm sorry, not a 3-2 lead, but a 2-1 lead up to this point, a little ahead of myself. In fact, TFC never had a 3-2 lead in this one. The 3-2 scoreline would be a little bit of a foreshadow because that lead for TFC only lasted 11 minutes, as Falco Torres would score in his first in the Verde Black from Taylor and Uzuni to make it 2-2 in this one. But on the other end, Sargent looked like he had a chance to respond, but he hits this one right to Stewart, despite the fact that he was literally on the doorstep of goal. Yeah, it's just not Jar Sargent Day. And really, besides that one goal that he scored from the header from the set piece, he has had a lot of issue when it comes to finishing in front of goal. And this can happens when you're a guy that not only is a little bit out of form and also kind of trying to get them yourself back to competitiveness, but the fact that he's been kind of sniping to begin, and also the transfer fee as well, that maybe plays a big part of it. It feels like there's a lot of pressure on Gerard Sargent to perform, especially the transfer fee that is, and the fact that he's not performing the way that they are. I don't want to label the B word right away on Gerard Sargent's name, but if this kind of continue, this has got to be very concerning if you're a TFC fan, seeing you're a $20 million guy having all these good chances that you expect him to bury most of the time. I've seen him bury a lot of these with Norwich City as well, and he's just not doing it right now. And as I said, it's just not happening for Garth Sargent today. No matter where he's trying in front of goal, it doesn't work whatsoever. But what's even worse for TFC is the fact that 2 minutes after that big miss that could have gave them the lead again, Austin would get the lead back, as Ramirez would score here to make it 3-2 in this game. It kind of pinball around the box. Kind of fortunate that it falls to Ramirez, who was in on goal, and slots this one home. And just as you you thought that Austin maybe got the big win. Toronto immediately responds because again, the name of this game is the fact that defense was not a thing whatsoever, and it was just a bonkers kind of game. As Kobe Franklin would score here to tie the game up at 3 apiece, and also the name of the game is the fact that apparently every single TFC home game doing this 9 game home stretch has to have goals in the last 10 minutes. Have to have maximum drama because that's just how it's been throughout this home stretch. We then get 10 minutes of stoppage time because why not? I mean, this game is already off the rails up to this point. Stefan Nonovic would then miss high on the header for TFC, but yeah, in the end, it ends in a free draw in this one. The shots in this one, 17 shots for the 12 that Austin has, 11 shots on goal compared to 6 that Austin has in this one. Yeah, it's safe to say that Stuver was very busy, and even though Stuver gave up 3 goals, have he not made some big save in this one? Probably TFC would have won this one. 2 shots off target for the 3 that Austin had, 3 shots on block for the 2 that Toronto has, and possession wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession that TFC has in this game. And even after this game, I don't think either of these sides going to be very happy. Obviously, if you're a neutral watching this game, you're definitely very happy because this was your typical MLS after dark, or in this case, MLS in bright broad daylight kind of action that we seen where it was just crazy of how things have gone throughout this game. But neither of these teams is going to be very happy with this result. For TFC, it's more drop points at home. They cannot afford to keep dropping points at home, especially of how well they play in this one and some moments of lapse on the defensive end. Yeah, that's gonna be left TFC fans and Robin Fraser very frustrated about this performance. But for Austin, I mean, yes, I know that they fought hard a couple of times to get the lead back, but not being able to hold on late, and especially with the way that your defense was just pretty much non-existent and kind of hung Brad Stuver out to dry. And what's kind of even more frustrating is the fact that for once the attack actually looked competent. It's not very often you see Austin score three goals in a game. So for once your attack is competent, and then your defense decided to completely shat the bed in terms of how this game it turns out. It's got to be very frustrating if you're a Los Verdes fan. They're still winless for a while now, and yeah, they're gonna have to trying to move on, and especially both of these teams trying to move on after just probably one of the more chaotic games we've seen this season, and it's hard to believe 2 of them has now involving TFC in terms of an early kickoff. This is why when you're watching MLS action, you got to wake up early, especially in the West Coast, to watch these games because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be tuning into every TFC 10 a.m. kickoff now here in the West Coast because you never know what crazy thing can happen in a TFC game nowadays. Now, moving on in terms of the next game, we move on to Montreal versus the New York Red Bulls. So I think Montreal is trying to make a petition to the league that they can play the New York Red Bulls for the rest of the year because if they can play the New York Red Bulls for the rest of the year, they would definitely be not only back in playoff contention, but maybe even trying to gun for support a shield as well. Because for whatever reason this season, Montreal just have the Red Bulls number. Whatever Michael Bradley has done so well for the Red Bulls, he just cannot solve Montreal this season. And early on, they got a goal relatively early under their new interim head coach as Leteri would score from Owusu to give Montreal a 1-0 lead. It was also the first shot for Montreal as well. It also come off a bad turnover from the Red Bulls. Yeah, I talk about so many times before. When you turn the ball over in a bad spot, even against a weaker team, that is unforgivable. Owusu then looked for another, but he missed wide as the flag went out. Longstaff would then miss just wide from long range, and it feels like the new interim head coach boost that Montreal got in this one, it's definitely in full effect in this one. This looked nothing like the Montreal team that we've seen in the past. They actually look competent for once, especially on the attacking end. Nealis with the Red Bulls first shot, but he missed wide on the header. Owusu then puts it over from long range in the 29th minute. The shots were 3-2 from Montreal 30 minutes in, but then they got a penalty as Sean Nealis or actually, I'm sorry, it's not Sean Nealis, but this is his brother Dylan Nealis handball this one in the box. So here comes Owusu, the chance to bury from the spot there. Mind you, last time when both of these teams faced off against each other, Montreal also got a penalty, and Owusu, of course, scored the penalty in the last game. He does the same one in this one against the Red Bulls in Montreal as well. So just like that, it's 2-0 in favor of Montreal. Like I said, I don't know what is it with Montreal facing against Red Bulls. They just love playing against the Kits this year. In the second half, that continues because they would make it 3-0 as Manny Longstaff would score from Owusu and Stride to make it 3-0 in favor of Montreal. I believe that's the first goal for Manny Longstaff in a Montreal jersey, and he loved scoring so much that he has to be kind to give the goal right back to the Red Bulls. As in the 53rd minute, it was an own goal here, a bit of a mix-up at the back. Longstaff trying to play this one back. Giulia was not ready for it. He was not expecting him to pass it back there. So yeah, just like that, it's 3-1 in this game. Some kind of Longstaff in terms of scoring one on one end and then scoring another in his own net on the other end. He must be feel bad for the Red Bulls, the fact that this is too good. We're of a Montreal side to be true. That in reality maybe need to start a sailing with a little miscommunication at the back and an unforgiving own goal as well. But in the 56 minutes, Sofo looked for another, but he missed high there. Momentum was definitely with the Red Bulls, and you kind of sense that the wheels are starting to come off again for Montreal. It feels like this great game that they have, it started to kind of turn pumpkin late in this one. Giulia would deny Mascara from close in the 63rd minute, but to Montreal credit, they did kind of ride out that storm a little bit. Started to really limit the chances, and as a result, we did go for a period where not much really happened. And in the 77th minute, they make sure they get all 3 points once again against the New York Red Bulls. As Mahala Opoku, it's been a long time we have seen Mahala score a goal for Montreal. It feels like it's been what, a year or two since we have seen him score a goal, but he scored here from Owusu to make it 4-1 in favor of Montreal. It also came off a bad giveaway from the New York Red Bulls. Again, even when you're facing against a bad team like that, you cannot give the ball away cheaply in your own half. You're gonna get punished more times than not when you do that. And the Red Bulls for the second time in this game got punished because of a bad turnover. Rios then looked to make it 5-1, but he was denied by Horvat before Horvat denied Rios again, this time from close. But yeah, in the end, Montreal, like I said, I don't know what is it with them playing against the Red Bulls. They just enjoy playing them so much that they got another win in this one. So far, all the wins that they have come against the New York Red Bulls. The shots in this one, 9 shots for the 8 that the Red Bulls had, 1 shot on goal for the 6 that Montreal has. Both teams had 2 shots off target, 5 shots that was blocked for the 1 that Montreal has, and possession-wise, 65% possession compared to 35% possession that Montreal has in this game. And as much as Montreal are trying to make the case that they want to play the New York Red Bulls one more time this season, that's obviously is not going to be the case. I mean, if you're a Red Bulls fan, you are probably very happy to not see Montreal for the rest of the season and probably not in the playoffs as well, because yeah, I just don't know what is it with them facing against Montreal. Maybe once again they underestimate Montreal again, and they pay the ultimate prize. And the last time when they did that and they lost to Montreal, that was the beginning of a bit of a 4 game winless run. Red Bulls fans are hoping that that might not be the same case with this team once again going back to a winless run after it just looked so promising in the last couple of games as well. Now, moving on into the last game on this floor, and the last game that we're going to talk about is Inter Miami versus the Colorado Rapids. So I gotta say, there has to be some concern if you're a Inter Miami fan, because so far when you look at how the season has gone, it just haven't been good enough in terms of the talent wise. I know they did win this game, and you're saying, how am I concerned about this team when they just won a game and they continue to be near the top of the standings? Defense continued to be absolutely horrendous so far this season. And in this one, they once again give up two goals in this one, 2 quick goals because of non-existent defense, and have Messi did not decide to turn magic again and decide to turn gold mode in this one. They probably would have dropped points again in this one, and there would be more finger pointing that is going to go on with this Inter Miami side. Now, early on, the Rapids was definitely on the front foot. And as Miami, I thought they again they kind of forced Miami to defend early in this one, which was very surprising. This was kind of a game that I don't think I've seen this happen very often, where Miami is kind of a team that's been on the back foot and they let their opposition be the protagonist. Usually it's the other way around, but that's kind of the thing with Matt Wells' team. He wants to be the protagonist. He wants to be aggressive, and at times that actually has worked out for the team that's facing Inter Miami. Thompson with the game's first shot, but he missed wide there. But then the 60th minute, a penalty was given to Inter Miami as VAR deemed that a 10-0 brought down in the box after Colorado turned the ball over in a bad spot. And again, I understand that's the identity of the Colorado Rapids. That's kind of the way that Matt Wells likes to uh to organize his team. But at some point, you got to say that maybe they not need to not have to do that every single time. We've seen before where teams decide to play out of the back. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't mind when teams play out of the back. That's a way to continue to keep possession and also maybe play a direct ball and catch the other team on the counterattack. But when you're playing out of the back, you got to make sure you are exceptionally well, because if you don't do that and you don't play out of the back relatively cleanly, you give the ball away cheaply against a pressing team, and next thing you know, this can happen. We see this with San Diego, as what I mentioned, with San Diego kind of playing a little similar style of what Matt Wells is doing, and how San Diego has kind of gone for a rough patch, mainly because one, they keep getting red cards every single game, but also the fact that with them kind of also playing out of the back, teams are starting to figure out that and start to press as high up as possible. And there's been times where they just have been very sloppy, and as a result, that's where the defense really open up. And here, because of a bad turnover in their own end. It was right, the one that draws the penalty on Intencio. So here comes Messi, a chance to put away the penalty. The phones was definitely out, because this is an opportunity for everybody to see Messi to score from the spot, and he does. So yeah, that gives Miami a 1-0 lead. Aronson was in on goal there, but he just missed wide there. It was not a great game for Paxton Aronson, and this has got to be disappointing, because this was supposed to be kind of his coming out game. He's actually have been pretty decent start to the season, but this was not one of his games that he want to remember. He just didn't really set up too much that the Rapids really needed from their number 10 talisman. But at the same time, I also thought that the warning sign was once again there for this Inter Miami D. I said this before. There's just way too many times where I see this Inter Miami D just not being organized whatsoever, just giving up tons of space to their opposition, and their opposition has been able to exploit that time and time again. Aronson would then hits it right to Dane Sinclair before Travis would miss high from close in the 40th minute. The shots were 4-1 for the Rapids up to this point, but the one shot for Miami is in the back of net. In fact, on their second shot of the game, it's also in the back of the net. As Betarame, it's safe to say that that goal that he scored that finally got off the shine, it's definitely giving him some confidence, because he scored here from Savetti and DePaul to give Miami a 2-0 lead. It also come off another bad giveaway from the Colorado Rapids. Again, you just can't do that against Miami. And, at least for the early part on, they just were being too sloppy playing out of the back, and they got punished both times. So just like that, it's 2-0 in favor of Miami. That would be the scoreline heading into the second half, despite the fact that Miami really has only had two real attack, and both of them are just kind of coming off of Colorado mistake, and because of that, and the Rapids not being clinical, it's got to be very frustrating if you're a Rapids fan, and certainly for Matt Wells and these players. The fact that they play so well in the first half, but they just made two fatal mistakes, and yeah, when you're facing the likes of Inter Miami, even with the slow start that they've had this season, you just can't make those mistakes. It's going to be punished time and time again. In the second half, Atencio would then hits it right to Dane Sinclair. Not much really happened, at least in the beginning of the second half, which I thought that favors Miami trying to ride this 2-0 win. But this is when I talk about the big concern with this team. We've seen this before with this Inter Miami team, where no longer we can say that this team can easily be able to close out games. They had so many issue on the defensive end, and here an example of it. In the 58th minute, Navarro would score from Frederick and Tenzio to make it get 2-1 in this one. And to be fair, I will say that this was a champagne kind of soccer move by the Colorado Rapids, completely cutting Inter Miami defense apart. But it kind of also doesn't do it any favor the fact that Inter Miami wasn't doing good defensively, and especially Falcone himself just getting completely done by Navarro there as well. I mean, Falcon, I think he is probably the one of the most hated men right now in Inter Miami, because it is hard to believe that he's still getting starting minutes for this team, despite the fact that he's been one of the biggest culprits, right, of why this defense has just completely failed apart in these last couple of games. And speaking of falling apart, just 4 minutes later, Miami would give up another goal to start to go to meltdown mode again, as Darren Yappy would score from Harrington and Tensio to tie the game up at two apiece. First of all, what a world class ball this was from Lucas Harrington. Put it on a dime, and then a cool finish there from Darren Yappy. But yeah, it feels like Miami has hit the self destruction button. And to add insult to injury, and this is not no pun intended. Savetti had to be subbed off with a hamstring injury. Allen didn't replace him there. We don't know how severe this injury is gonna be, but that's a huge blow for this Inter Miami team because Savetti provides a lot to this team, at least on the attacking end. Messi would then puts it high on the free kick. They did show that there was 75,824 fans attended this one. I told you that there was going to be a big crowd in this one. It was so big that it was the second highest in MLS history, and all those fans were able to once again see a moment of magic from Lionel Messi. I mean, yes, I know no Messi has started to decline his ability as we go along, but if there's one thing you can't deny is the fact that he can still do this. He can still turn into vintage Messi here. Just took on the entire back line for the Rapids and slots it home cleanly, and just like that, it's 3-2 in favor of Inter Miami. Manungu did look to respond, but he curls this one wide. We then get a red card in the 87th minute. Yannick Bright, of course, got sent off. Apparently, they said that he has said something abusive, either toward an opponent or toward the referee. But either way, it's a violent contact red card for Yannick Bright. Didn't really matter though because the Rapids couldn't generate too much chance late in the game. And in the end, Inter Miami, they just about did enough. Again, yes, in the end, it's 3 points, and yes, it's another win on the tally so far. But there's gotta be still a lot of concern about this Inter Miami team going forward. The fact that the defense once again it just does not look good whatsoever. And I really think throughout this game, if it wasn't for them capitalizing on their opportunity when they're given, they didn't really look good on the attack either. I mean, Messi up to that wonderful goal that he scored in the 79th minute, he was pretty quiet for most of the game, and yet that's what goals do. Even when he's quiet, he can somehow score breaks in this one. The shots of this one, 13 shots for the 5 that Inter Miami has, 3 shots on goal for the 4 that the Rapids had, 2 shots off target for the 6 that the Rapids had, 3 shots on the block for the none that Miami has, and possession-wise, 61% possession compared to 39% possession that Inter Miami has in this game. And if you're the Colorado Rapids, I mean, I don't know if you can call this by getting Miami'd in this one. I don't know if that's actually a thing that I should say when a team play much better than Inter Miami, but somehow on the losing end. But that's kind of how it is. I mean, Colorado was by far the better team in this one. Every category that they had were better in this game against Inter Miami. But like I said many times before, this is as old as when Messi first arrived in this league and joined Inter Miami. When you do not take advantage of your chances against Inter Miami, when you don't punish them where you need to, and there were multiple times where this Colorado team could have punished this Inter Miami team, and also you being not perfect throughout the game, especially on the defensive end. This is exactly what can happen, and we'll see whether or not if the Rapids can overcome that. Keep in mind the Rapids are going to be in a very tough stretch coming up. There's games against Vancouver and LAFC. The LAFC game is going to be in the middle of the week. That is going to be a very tough game for them because they have never had success when they play against LAFC down at BMO Stadium. So yeah, overall, this is definitely a learning lesson. I mean, if you want to put it on a positive spin, at least the Rapids did very well and at least entertain the fans. And maybe even in a loss like that, maybe that kind of convinced some of the casual fans. I mean, there's no doubt that out of the 75,000 attend this one, no, those were hardcore Rapids fan. I mean, you might be just a small percentage of them are actually hardcore Rapids fan. Most of them are probably casual fans. But I think after this game, you could maybe make a case that some of these casual fans may be able to get themselves saying that, hey, I mean, yes, it's great that I saw Messi and his team getting a win, but this team looks pretty fun to watch, and they play some fun soccer at the Colorado Rapids. I've said it throughout the season. This is a very fun team to watch, and they continue to be that way as well, even in this loss. So maybe that can convince some of the casuals to say, hey, maybe this might be a team I might check out. Maybe I might go to another game or two at Dick's Sporting Goods Park to check it out. Obviously, it's not going to be easy to make it there compared to this game being at Empower Field at Mile High. But yeah, I think even in the loss in this one and the disappointment, the good news for the Rapids is that at least this might be a good marketing campaign kind of game where they maybe draw some casual to really start watching their game and maybe even attend their game to really help the attendance that has been a huge problem for the Rapids for the past couple of years. This team has been near the bottom of the attendance for the past couple of years. This is kind of a game that maybe could help them and definitely will improve their number because of the way that they go on so many fans and help their average as well. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of looking at all of the matinee games and also the Friday games that is. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to leave a like, smash the subscribe button. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these games. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.